You can rescue your child from a toxic relationship, guide them into adulthood, and feel like you've succeeded as a parent. And then, years later, you can find yourself accused of being a toxic father over a single joke about ice cream. The father in this story built his confidence on a tangible success. Years ago, he helped his older son, Kevin, navigate a difficult chapter and come out the other side. This is Kevin today. The uniform represents a young man who found his footing and grew into a capable adult. That effort resulted in a thriving relationship. Today, the two are close, with Kevin frequently calling his father to ask for dad advice. This history of active, supportive parenting is central to the father's identity. He views himself as a protector, which makes the upcoming accusation feel less like a critique and more like a personal betrayal. Then there is his youngest daughter, Sarah. At 17, she is driven by a deeply romanticized Disney princess expectation of what love should look like. The father describes her as having a manic, goofy side, very much like the energy Gilda Radner brought to the early days of SNL. She sees the laughter and friendship in her parents' marriage and wants to achieve that same level of partnership immediately, even at 17. This idealism has led to a constant cycle of short-lived romances. Over the last 2 years, she has brought home a string of what her father calls pseudo-boyfriends. The parenting tools that worked for his son are ineffective here. No amount of logic seems to reach a teenager convinced that her next relationship will be the one that lasts forever. After months of trying to reason with an illogical teenager through a series of breakups, the father reached a point of emotional fatigue. He made a private vow to his wife. He wouldn't bother learning another boyfriend's name until one stayed around long enough to prove he had 2 brain cells to rub together. He called it the Baskin Robbins rule. To him, the boys were just the flavor of the week. This label acted as a shield, allowing the parents to stop investing emotional energy into romances that were likely to vanish within days. The joke was intended to mock the interchangeability of the teenage boys. In his mind, it was a harmless way to deal with the chaos of the high school dating scene, with no malice directed toward his daughter. Thinking it was a relatable story about parenting, he shared the Baskin Robbins joke with a female friend, expecting a laugh. Instead, he was met with a visceral reaction. The lighthearted atmosphere vanished instantly. His friend was absolutely furious, telling him that the joke made his daughter out to be a whore. The father was blindsided. While he felt he was making a point about the boy's lack of substance, his friend heard a father reducing his daughter's life to a series of disposable consumer choices. This is the friction between what we mean and what others hear. His intent focuses on his exhaustion, but the impact carries a harsher connotation. Viewed through a modern lens, comparing a daughter's dating to ice cream flavors brings cultural baggage that cannot be joked away. Ultimately, the innocence of the joke isn't decided by the father's internal thoughts, but by how the words sound to those outside his private circle. The exchange left the father in a state of shock. He was forced to consider if his perspective on his own family was flawed. Critics of this kind of humor often point to benevolent sexism, the idea that protective paternal instincts can sometimes hide deeper, unintentional judgments about a daughter's autonomy. It raises the question of whether a double standard is at play. Would the father have used the same flavor of the week logic if his son had been the one dating around? The conflict with his friend reveals a deeper concern. The possibility that even a well-meaning parent can have a significant blind spot regarding their own children. Beyond the argument between the two adults, there is the question of the daughter. What would happen if Sarah actually heard her father refer to her relationships this way? She might see it as her father protecting her from heartbreak, or she might feel that her hero is privately mocking her search for a meaningful connection. Parenting teenagers involves a constant risk. A private way of coping with stress can easily be misinterpreted by a child and turn into a long-term insecurity. So we look to the jury. Was this just a father blowing off steam, or was it a toxic double standard? In the world of modern parenting, there are no easy answers. The final judgment depends entirely on the values you bring to the table.